What he just did was shocking. A former All-Star who finished second in Rookie of the Year voting and top 7 in Cy Young is being demoted to the minor leagues for the first time in his career. So stay tuned only here on Mets Digest for the details as to why the Mets made such an insane move with all of the details. I'm your host today, Mike Duda. We're going to dive right into the ghost forkless New York Mets, but first we got to talk about some subscribers, and that being the fact that 66.9% of you that watch these videos aren't one. So please do me a favor, do us a favor here on Mets Digest, and hit that free subscribe button. That way we can bring content to you about the amazing. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. And an important thing to do before you go ahead and watch this video, watch my last video about Brandon Sproat being called up to the MLB. It'll really help with some of the background details because we will be hearing from some authors and from that timetable. A lot of Brandon Sproat will be mentioned today, but assuming that you've already done that, the breaking news today is that Kodai Senga is going down to AAA for the first time in his career since coming statewide and here in America. He will be in the minor leagues. Of course, he was a Japanese product. He came from Japan, played baseball over there, and the Mets got him, brought him over to America, to Flushing, and he has not played a minor league game over here in the MILB, and now he will, going down to AAA Syracuse. Now, the reason why this is shocking is because he had an option. He could have very well told the Mets, no, I don't want to go down to the minor leagues, but he accepted. He said, you know what? I mean, he didn't say this, but I'm assuming he said something along the lines of, I'm not helping this team. I'm not performing well. Therefore, I'm going to do what's right by the New York Met team and the New York Met franchise and go down to AAA, ready myself, and get ready for the postseason. So, without further ado, let's dive into all of these details. Starting off with something that we brought up yesterday. Again, I'm going to talk about yesterday's video a lot. I mentioned this. I brought this up. I showed this exact picture. That top starting pitching prospect, Brandon Sproat, is, quote, in strong consideration for a start with the Mets soon, according to SNY's Andy Martino. Sproat, 24 years old, had posted a 4.24 ERA and 1.24 WHIP over 25 starts with AAA Syracuse here in 2025. And in his most recent start on Saturday, he struck out 9 and allowed just 3 hits over 7 scoreless frames. The Mets will know by tomorrow, that being today, whether the struggling Kodai Senga will accept a minor league assignment or not, reported by the New York Post's Mike Puma a few days ago on Wednesday. We should know if Sproat will be coming up for the Mets very soon. Of course, he is. That news is not breaking anymore. The breaking news is that Kodai Senga did indeed accept said minor league assignment. He will be heading to AAA. So the question is why? Well, Mendoza said it. He said everything's on the table. Whether he makes the next start, there's a lot going on right now. That being the skip, the manager, Carlos Mendoza. And the reason why is because of this stat line. This was just his most recent start. 4 2/3 innings pitched, 7 hits allowed, 5 earned runs, another home run that he's given up, 2 walks, only 6 Ks. Not good at all. That ERA is up to 3.02. I don't know about you. I remember a time when Kodai Senga had a 1.39 ERA here in 2025, and now he is above 3. He simply just has not been good since this injury. I covered this a while ago. It was in the middle of June when he got injured. Pete Alonso couldn't flip the ball correctly. Senga landed on the base weird, had a lower leg injury. Maybe they rushed him back. Maybe they didn't. They might have. And they might have rushed back Sean Manaea, which is why you're not seeing production out of either of them. Because if you recall, the Mets were in a situation in about mid-July where they were starting to slide a good amount. They had already had that really, really bad losing streak, which was 14 out of a 16-game stretch. And Met fans were concerned. The organization was concerned. This is a team that needs to make the playoffs. It was a guarantee, basically, coming into the season that the New York Mets would be a playoff team. And in that stretch, it didn't look so positive. So the Mets might have rushed Senga and Manaea back. We'll talk about Sean Manaea in a little bit later on in this video, but because of that, he has just been really, really bad. That being Kodai Senga. Since this injury, since his return in the middle of July, 26 earned runs over 39 2/3 innings pitched. That's a 5.90 ERA. No more than 5 2/3 innings pitched in a given start. And he's thrown less than 5 in 6 out of his 9 starts since returning. Nearly a home run allowed per start, 6.18 ERA in August, and a 5.24 125 in July. Simply put, he's been shellacked. He has not been good. So now that we know it's official, let's return to yesterday's move about Brandon Sproat and how this impacts Kodai Senga. Turning it over to the experts, and we're going to begin it with Vasilis Dramalatis of Amazing Avenue. He says the Mets are reportedly calling up Brandon Sproat to make his major league debut on Sunday against the Reds. The team has not named a corresponding move, though they are reportedly waiting on Kodai Senga to either accept or reject a request for a minor league assignment. Of course, he did indeed accept it, which could have some implications on the team's upcoming moves. In fact, it did. We'll talk about that later today in a separate video. So let's go ahead over to Andy Worley of MLB.com, who gives context on why Senga is the pitcher being picked. Kodai Senga was previously lined up to pitch on Sunday. That is, of course, going to be Brandon Sproat's day, but the Mets had not committed to the right-hander making the start and were reportedly considering asking him to accept being optioned to the minor leagues, that being AAA Syracuse. Senga has a 5.90 ERA. We've talked about this since returning from the injured list on July 11th, and the Mets have lost 4 of his last 5 starts. They haven't been winning ball games when he's pitched. He hasn't pitched well. The bullpen has been used a ton because he can't go deep. I mean, it's been the same thing for Sean Manaea, but again, we'll compare that in just a little bit. So now that we know the background, let's go ahead and dive right into the news. Here it is. Mike Puma said yesterday, or rather 2 days ago, the Mets will know by Friday, that being today, whether Kodai Senga is willing to accept a minor league assignment. And here it is. Although there is no statement being released from Senga, nothing has been said yet from the front office, nothing from Carlos Mendoza, it is official. This was on the Mets' X, their Twitter account. It is official that right-handed pitcher Kodai Senga has been optioned to AAA Syracuse. In the corresponding move, which we'll go over in just a bit, Wander Suaro, a right-handed pitcher, has been reported to the Major League roster. He's been promoted. We'll talk about that in a separate video to come. Also, that Francisco Alvarez and Hayden Senger news, because right now we are going to focus on Senga. Turning it back over to the experts, it's going to be Mark W. Sanchez of the New York Post. He's got you covered with a possibility, how this is even possible in the first place. He says for the first time since arriving stateside, a healthy Kodai Senga will be a minor leaguer. Senga has consented to be optioned to AAA Syracuse, the Mets announced Friday, that being today, leaving the major league team during a playoff chase so he can attempt to regain his form. The 32-year-old third-year Met could have declined the move, as stipulated in his contract. That's important. We'll talk about that in depth in just a bit. But he has accepted the demotion amid a brutal stretch in which he owns a 6.56 ERA in his past 8 games. Now, funny enough for Senga, this whole reason, the whole consent form, was something that is solely because of that contract, like we heard from Sanchez. None of his MILB options has been used, and he has less than 5 years of service time in the MLB. Nothing in Japan counts towards that service time. So, theoretically, he would be someone that can just simply go down to AAA. Mets would not have to have consent or not, but because of this little thing in his contract, because of this particular line, what is stipulated here, like we heard from Sanchez, there is in fact that consent that now the Mets had to ask Senga for. It's all kind of mute because Senga did indeed give consent, so he's going to AAA, but it's just something interesting to note. So with that, let's go back to Sanchez for a little more. He's going to continue with the implications of this move, saying sending Senga down now for the Mets, who have about 3.5 weeks left to play, does allow time for Senga to prove he has fixed what had ailed him in time for a promotion later this month. He could be back in the big leagues. The Mets will call up Brandon Sproat, like we said yesterday, to start on Sunday, essentially replacing Senga as a 6th starter. So here's the skip on the matter as of last weekend. We've heard stuff like this before. He said, I'm pretty sure we're going to have some discussions about what's next for him. Our job is to get him right, but it's been a struggle. So hopefully going down to the minors will do just that. It'll get Kodai Senga right going into the postseason because it's almost a lock for the Mets to make the playoffs. A big series is coming up right now against the Cincinnati Reds. In fact, the San Francisco Giants have overthrown the Reds for the team closest to the Mets out of the playoff race. So the Mets can basically eliminate, not mathematically, but practically eliminate the Reds by taking 2 out of 3 or sweeping them this weekend. And then hopefully they just can consistently win some baseball games. They make the playoffs. They'll probably be the last seed in the National League, but what matters is the playoffs. The Mets were the last seed in the National League last season, and they made it to the NLCS. They were 2 games away from the World Series. So what matters this is the playoffs, and hopefully you have a healthy, full-formed Kodai Senga for it. So, with that, let's talk about Sean Manaea. Why was Sean Manaea not the guy that went down? Why was it Kodai Senga? I mean, look at the stats right here. It's very obvious that even during the bad stretch, Senga has had a much better season than Sean Manaea. Both of them came back from injury around the same time. Senga had pitched previously. Manaea was out for the first half of the year. And Senga's ERA since returning is only 0.30 points worse than Sean Manaea's. So why is it him? Well, the answer is those rules that we were talking about earlier. Even though Sean is only a year older at 33 years of age, he has 8.157 service years and no MILB options remaining, compared to Senga, who has 2 years of service time, which is, again, less than 5, and 3 options left, meaning that Senga is the only one that could have gone down. And, of course, you're not going to send down Jonah Tong. You're not going to send down Nolan McLean. They've both been great. You're promoting Brandon Sproat, so there's 3 guys in your rotation. You're not bringing down Peterson. Obviously, you're not bringing down Manaea, and the Mets still want to keep Clay Holmes in the mix, and you're not going to go with a 7-man rotation. So for those reasons, Kodai Senga has been sent down. That's why he was the choice. And what I find surprising is that he was willing to go down. He said, practically, based on his decision, he implied, I want what's best for my team. I want my team to win. I have not been helping my team, and therefore, I am going to take the journey. I'm going to go down to AAA, go regain myself, and hopefully be back for the postseason in full Kodai Senga form. Just go down there in the comment section. Let me know what you think about this decision. Very noble, in my opinion, on Kodai Senga's behalf. But let me know if you disagree. Let me know if you agree. Let me know how you think this is going to play out. Do you think Senga's going to find his form down in AAA with the Syracuse Mets or not? Again, video coming later today on some of those later moves that we talked about. The ones that, of course, are part of this Kodai Senga drama, so to speak. The corresponding move for him. And Francisco Alvarez is back. We'll talk about that in a later video today. But unfortunately, that's all the time I have for you in this update video. Thanks so much always for watching, and let's go Mets.